What is going on, guys? It is Marfoogle News, and this is Dex. I'm filling in again for Adam, and I want to welcome you all here tonight. We've got a lot to cover in a short amount of time, so let's just jump right in. Hey, the founder of a key Apple supplier, this is the Foxconn company, said that the U.S. stock market would collapse in 10 seconds if conflict broke out in Taiwan. And then he immediately deleted the comment right after posting it. So this is Terry Agyo. He is the founder of Foxconn. He is a Chinese billionaire. They are one of the big companies that makes a lot of the Apple products, as well as many other products too. But the specific thing he said, this is the quote. He said, if conflict breaks out in the Taiwan Strait, it wouldn't take a month or even an hour, but just 10 seconds for the Wall Street stock market to collapse, end quote. That's what he said on a Facebook post. Now, he did quickly remove that shortly thereafter. It is cached. People can find it, and obviously everybody's written articles about it, but it's a pretty bold statement coming from him. And one of the things it does is it reinforces this whole notion of how important and what the role of Taiwan is in the global economy. More specifically, in the tech economy, and how much of our world is dependent on it. And so much so that this gentleman actually thinks the entire market would collapse over just having a conflict break out. He goes on to say, we're spending time in UKR, but in reality, the big challenge is going to be what is happening or potentially could happen in Taiwan. So we got a lot to cover tonight. So sit tight. We got this. We got updates on what's going on in Russia. We got a lot of updates in China, stuff in the Strait of Hormuz, lots of, and West Coasters. There's some stuff happening on your highways. So look, sit tight. I'll be right back right after this.
Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Again, this is Dex, and I'm filling in for Adam this week. He is away doing some family stuff, but he'll be back soon. Don't worry, everything's fine. As I like to say, I'm doing just fine. Well, Adam is doing just fine too. So, look, if you're new and you don't know about our website, make sure you go to marfooglenews.com. Click on the thumbnail for the show. That's what's showing right here. When you click on it, you'll actually land on this page, or open up the show notes link down below in the description. It'll take you right here. You can find all of the information that we're going to cover tonight, links to articles, links to tweets, any of that type of stuff that we put together. It's right here on our webpage. Everything you need to know. So we try to make that bibliography, if you want to call it that, available for everyone so that you can understand or follow along. Sometimes we may not give you all the details you want. Feel free to go to the website and find the article and read more or learn more about where it's coming from. So let's get going. Let's move through this. We got a lot to cover. I'm going to try and do it in a much more compressed time tonight. So let's see if I can actually pull that off. All right. China is actually calling on NATO to drop the plans of expanding into the Asia Pacific. So we have talked quite a bit about Japan's recent involvement in NATO meetings. They were at the summit. They've been in numerous meetings. They've had NATO members come to Japan, as well as other countries have, they've been eyeing other countries to be part of the NATO. And I don't know if they'll have to change the name from the North Atlantic Treaty Organization to something different if they move over to the Pacific. But obviously, as we have said, China is not thrilled about this. They do not want to see any involvement from NATO in the Pacific region. They obviously want to have the power and control, and they definitely don't want to see the big conglomerate of NATO and the West influencing the region there. So the quote that is specific here, it's coming from the ambassador, the Chinese ambassador to Russia, Zhang Hanai. Sure I'm butchering it, I apologize. He says, "We insist that NATO meet the calls of the times, heed the calls of Asia Pacific countries for peace and development, adjust its erroneous attitude, drop the Cold War mentality, and refrain from moving to Asia Pacific region." So this is not the first time they have said this. These, they've put these words out before. They have definitely signaled that that having NATO engaged and involved in any way, shape, or form in the Pacific or Asia Pacific region is a big no-no in their book. So keep an eye on this. I have a sneaking suspicion that the NATO members and NATO itself will continue to go down this path, and I'm sure it's not going to sit pretty, just like it didn't sit pretty with Putin and the potential idea of UKR joining NATO, hence the immediate invasion that happened. Speaking of China, so they are now going to be deploying listening devices, as they call them, in the Arctic Ocean. Most importantly here, it's really to claim territory, or at least to establish territory. We know that Russia has significantly increased their presence in the Arctic. The U.S. has what we have from Alaska, as well as working with Canada. We have our own access, but we haven't nearly been as involved in the Arctic, at least not in the obvious sense, as say Russia has. And we know now that Beijing, who is not even in the Arctic, their land doesn't touch it, or China, I should say, doesn't touch it, is absolutely trying to establish its presence and at least having a larger military presence in the Arctic so they can get that foothold in. So despite being 900 miles away from the Arctic Circle, Beijing has never shied away from asserting itself as a quote-unquote near Arctic state. And now it's gearing towards deploying a network of listening devices in the Arctic Ocean that would very well herald the militarization of the top of the world. So what are they listening for? I have a sneaking suspicion it's submarines and any other things that are underwater, as well as any other noise that could be produced and picked up. So these listening devices are absolutely one of the first steps they're going to take. So lots happening there. Listen, Taiwan, as we talk quite a bit about them, they are now getting prepared to test what this article is calling their less robust eastern defense. What they mean is Taiwan spends a tremendous amount of time fortifying the islands on the western side. The western front is the front that's facing China. It is the part that's 100 miles away, and it's the part that obviously that's the strait that everybody travels through. It's also the line at the halfway mark, that 50-mile mark, is the demarcation where China has been encouraging over and doing it in a way to sort of normalize it, so that Taiwan gets comfortable, or at least used to the fact that the Chinese military is constantly coming across that line. They used to never do it. They just recently started normalizing that. But the other side of the island, the eastern side, they have not actually spent a great deal of effort fortifying. And that's why we've seen a lot of the drills from China encircling the island and coming around from the backside. Of course, it's obvious China would do an invasion from the west, which is right there at their border. But they also have the ships and the personnel and the capabilities to go around the backside of the island and come in from that end. So Taiwan is actually going to be doing testing, firing over 100 missiles and other things as part of this to increase their capabilities on the eastern side, which is their weaker side. So they're trying to ramp that up. Why are they doing this? It's obvious. We're getting ready for an event. They're preparing and trying to keep China out. We know China wants to go in. I suspect China is doing everything they can to actually gain traction into Taiwan without having to fire any kinetic weapons, but that's coming. It's bound to come. They've already said they're going to take it. It's just a matter of time, and the question is, how soon is that going to be? We see so much ramping up in the Pacific region. These types of drills and this type of deployment and expansion are just, again, clear signals that everybody is getting ready. So, quote, the Air Force will examine the precision firing abilities of its F-16, Mirage 2005Ss, the IDF fighter jets, which will be equipped with the AIM-120 medium-range air-to-air missiles, the Mica anti-air multi-target systems, and the Tian-Shen-2, which is the Sky Sword 2, beyond visual range air-to-air missiles, respectively. The sources said, and again, under condition of an anonymity. So I guess a lot of times we get this stuff and we see it is coming from anonymous sources. But again, point here, they are going to be investing heavily on the eastern side, building up that. I think it's absolutely clear based on what we saw with China encircling the island and doing this numerous times, that they are concerned about that other side. So again, they expect over 100 missiles. They're expected to be fired in the drills with ranges far enough to clear past the Taiwan Strait. So anyway, let's keep going real quick. I want to mention Energy. If you don't know who that is, this is an affiliate of ours. They are friends of ours. They are fantastic. It is the best solar generator out there, in our opinion. It's modular, stackable. You can expand it, meaning you can add additional battery capacity. You can add additional functionality like superchargers. You can add UPS capabilities. Anything that you want, you can basically customize this solar generator to fit your needs. It is awesome. I have an Energy Flex 1500. I love it. It's the coolest thing. I show it to everybody that comes over, and they all love it too. But if you don't have a backup power, this is one to really, really consider. If you have gas, that's good, but it's very noisy and it's obviously going to give away your location and you're going to run out of gas. But with a solar generator, you can pop some panels outside, you can recharge it very quickly, and you can have power, whether it's short-term power outage or, in a SHTF situation where you want to have power for your bug out location or your campsite or whatever it is you may be doing. Go take a look at Energy, marfugglenews.com/energy with an I. Use code Marfoogle. You will get a discount. You will help the channel, and you'll get a fantastic product. If you really want to beef it up and you're looking for something even better, they have a tactical model. So go check that out. It is built in conjunction with the military. They've taken their 1500 and beefed it up a little bit more to meet some military specifications that were necessary for them. So again, marfugglenews.com/energy. Let's keep going. Brics. Okay. This is, the conglomerate of Russia, India, China, South America, and the B is Brazil. So Brazil, sorry, I had them backwards. But Brics, as we have often talked about, and I know a lot of people are concerned about, is the potential for them to rival the US dollar. We've seen the amount of gold being purchased by the countries that are in the Brics, especially China and Russia and others have been bringing in that gold, in significant numbers over the years. The writing is sort of on the wall. So we've got to see what is going to happen with their big meeting that's coming up in South Africa. But what they're saying is this is coming from Russia MP is saying that they're actually discussing the quick launch of a rival. In other words, creating a Brics dollar or a Brics monetary value and having that be a trade equivalent between the members. They also have, as we've reported, anywhere from 20 to 90 potential, or 20 to 40, I believe was, potential countries that are wanting to join. There were 22 that had actually filled out, I believe, or submitted, and there was a handful that wanted to join or had shown interest in potentially joining Brics. I have a sneaking suspicion you're going to find any country that is not aligned with the West or has some sort of thinking of the U.S. or the Western alliances as being an adversary to quickly look for an alliance with Brics. So this could be this probably will be the consortium of countries that ends up being the sort of the balancing or the opposite of the US dollar. That's what I'm predicting. I think a lot of other people have predicted this, but pay attention, keep your eye on this. This meeting is coming up soon. It's in South Africa, and matter of fact, that's the one they said they were going to arrest Putin if he went, and he decided not to go because South Africa was one of the members of the ICS group that was supposed to had put out charges for him. So, all right, let's keep going. This is kind of interesting, but it doesn't have a lot of information. So 2 U.S. sailors have been hit with charges, basically espionage charges. So 2 U.S. sailors were arrested and accused of transmitting national security information to, guess who? To China. So no surprise there, because we know that they're paying top dollar. We know that they're trying to get as much information, whether it be intellectual property or military and government secrets. But the U.S. Department of Justice has arrested 2 U.S. Navy sailors on national security charges relating to China on Thursday. It's unclear whether the 2 cases are connected in any way, because they're literally 2 separate cases. Odds are the timing, they probably are, but they didn't tell us. The first sailor is a 22-year-old assigned to a vessel in San Diego, is arrested on espionage charges relating to a conspiracy to share intelligence with a Chinese official. And the second sailor is based in Los Angeles, which, by the way, is nearby. It's not that far, and is charged with conspiracy and receipt of a bribe from a Chinese official. So, kind of a big deal, at least certainly a big deal when it comes to espionage and it comes to our military and whether or not they, are taking secrets and selling them. I think it's really easy for money to corrupt someone, especially when people are in a very difficult situation or their families are in difficult situations. It's probably real easy for someone to be in dire straits and then instantly be compromised because they find a light at the end of the tunnel. And unfortunately, it's not the right path to go down, because it's going to land you in some major trouble like this. And nobody wants to have an espionage charge against them, and especially one related to China. And by the way, I wouldn't think if you're in the military, your alliances would be with anybody other than the country you represent. If you're on the West Coast, let us know if you saw this. So F-35B just touched down on the old Pacific Coast Highway. And it's not just the F-35s. There was a lot of other things going on. Now, we have talked about the practice landings. In this particular case, they are suggesting that this is, because it's the Marines doing a lot of the work, that this is preparing for the islands in the Pacific. I am also thinking this is also preparing for defending the West Coast if something is going to happen there too. So this can go two different ways. But basically, they landed this F-35 right here that you see. This is the landing on the road there. They landed it. It's a 50-foot wide highway in Southern California. They refueled it. They rearmed it, and then they took off again. At the same time, they also brought in an Osprey tilt rotor MV-22. They took a torpedo from that and brought it to a Navy MH-60R Seahawk helicopter. So you can imagine a land-based helicopter transporting a longer range heavy equipment carrier like an Osprey, bringing in a torpedo, landing quickly, getting that torpedo onto a helicopter that can then quickly bring it out to, another ship that may be nearby that's in shorter range. That was the drill that's going on. That, and then of course, landing, refueling, and rearming an F-35. All of this on the streets, or in this case, the highway. So they say it's for the Indo-Pacific theater. It's certainly, you could see this happening in Japan or Taiwan or any of the islands on any roads there. That would make sense in a conflict, but I also want to, definitely have to give a little bit to wondering, could this be happening as well in the future on our own land if we are attacked? Because obviously our bases are going to be hit immediately. Our runways are going to be hit immediately. Even our commercial runways are going to be hit immediately. So what is the backup plan? How do they do that? And that's why they're drilling for this. And when they drill for it, we got to pay attention. So very interesting stuff going on. This F-35, pretty cool looking. But I could imagine if you're one of these cars in the distance, seeing this landing on the highway next to you, that's kind of crazy. All right. get this, the U.S. military may actually put armed troops on commercial ships in the Strait of Hormuz. So this is to stop the seizures that have been happening from the Iran. And so this has never been done before. It's like unprecedented. So, but literally the U.S. military is considering putting armed personnel on commercial ships as they travel through that strait. The thought is that if they do that, they will have a better chance of defending against these takeovers. And then potentially if Iran thinks that the military are on all these ships, they may obviously not contemplate taking or trying to take over one of these vessels because they won't want to engage in that. But this has never been done before. It's really a very strong position to take. Excuse me, but they're basically calling it, that this would make a difference, and I don't know. We'll have to see. I think what this is going to do is quickly escalate, because if the U.S. is firing, if U.S. military is sitting on a commercial ship and Iran pulls up and the U.S. starts firing upon them, we then have pretty much started a kinetic conflict potentially with them, and that will potentially escalate quickly. So we'll have to see. The contemplated move would also represent an extraordinary commitment in the Mideast by U.S. forces as the Pentagon tries to focus on Russia and China. Yeah, of course, because we talk about having 3 different fronts is going to make things very difficult. But America didn't even take the step during the so-called tanker war, which culminated with the U.S. Navy and the Iran fighting a one-day naval battle back in 1988. So we've been down this path before, and we didn't put military on the tankers as they were going through. So again, this would be unprecedented, but they're actually considering it. We'll keep our eyes out, see if they actually start to do it. Typically when they talk about this stuff, it's not far off before it actually happens. All right, let's keep rolling. So we have talked about this conscription age, but there's something new. So Russia is raising its conscription age. But the thing that I didn't notice, or at least was new to me, and I want to bring it to your attention, is the notion of 70-year-olds being called up. So if you recall, we talked about the change that they just passed in the law. They were trying to move it from 18 as the entry age to 21 as the entry age. And I believe the expansion was to go to 37. Yeah, from 27 to 30. Sorry, I got that backwards. From 27-year-olds to 30-year-olds. That would be the conscription range. It was supposed to be 21 to 30 instead of 18 to 27. Well, they decided to say, hey, we'll keep the 30 and we're not going to move the 18. So they widened the funnel. But this is the interesting part. The interesting part is in this law, they can now bring up reservists up to the age of 70. So the highest ranking officers now eligible for general mobilization are 70. And they raised that maximum age that the reservists who have already completed their compulsory service can be called back. So I don't know why you would bring back that age. That seems very, very old. I would think that anybody in their 70s would probably be in a role that's consultatory. It's not necessarily something they're going to be on the front lines, but nonetheless, they have done this. Why? Everybody can speculate, is it because they're, losing in UKR and they need more troops? Or is it because they're preparing for something bigger that's coming? And they know what they're going to need and they want to expand that capability. They've also ran into some issues when they were conscripting a lot of folks in the past. So they wanted to widen that funnel. At least that's one of the explanations for it. But as I said, we talked about this when it happened, but this whole notion of 70-year-olds and taking that age all the way up was kind of new to us. So I wanted to bring that to your attention. Hey, real quick, if you don't know who EMP Shield is, I highly recommend you go check them out. marfooglenews.com/EMP. You can learn about EMP protection. Not just that, but it's also CME, or coronal mass ejection, which comes from the sun. It happens all the time. Protection or lightning protection. It's all the same device. It's fantastic. It is a very, very cool product. Military-owned business, 100% American-made, right here in America. And you can easily install this in a vehicle in about 10 minutes. You connect the red wire to the red part of your battery, the black to the negative on your battery, and the green wire to a ground terminal in your car, on the frame, or on the any of the metal in the car. It's real simple. It didn't even take me 10 minutes when I put it in my car. But you do that and you're now protected. It will shunt the power surge that comes from the EMP in less than, a nanosecond. And like half of a nanosecond is super, super fast. That's the reason this is so important, is because it can handle this high load and do it in a fast pace, where other things that are much slower, like circuit breakers, GFCIs, surge protectors, all of those happen at much slower rates. And when that surge comes in from an EMP, before the devices can actually protect you from a surge, it's already affected everything. It's already ruined your vehicle or ruined anything that's in your home that's plugged in. But this product, they have, that's their secret sauce. I don't know what it is, but their secret sauce is the ability to clamp off that surge that comes from the EMP in such a great speed that it cannot affect anything that happens to be on that line, like in your car or in your house, in your RV, in your boat, in your side-by-side, your bug-out vehicle, whatever, solar systems, ham radios, anything that's susceptible to the induction from an EMP or a CME. And you get lightning protection as well. So go check it out, marfooglenews.com/EMP. It helps us out, and it gives you a great discount, $50 off each one, and they're on sale right now, I believe. So you get a double stacking deal. So go check it out. Let's keep going. Belarusian helicopter incident. We have talked about this day after day after day right now, and it's because it's kind of a hot topic. Well, at the moment, the U.S. is saying, hey, NATO Article 5 is not yet on the table. Okay. So, which is what I suspected, because if it literally was, hey, we're doing a training exercise and these couple helicopters missed the mark and went over the border, that's one thing. But it even came out further yesterday, as we reported, that Belarus said, hey, we'll give you all the proof that they didn't cross the border. So now we've got sort of a he said, she said, if it even happened. But at this point, NATO is saying, or at least the U.S. representation from NATO is saying, hey, right now it's not an Article 5 situation. It's not, currently under discussion. So that's a good sign, because that, it could have, obviously a threat or an attack like that, or an incursion like that could invoke that. So there is a process that NATO goes through around Article 5, but they're saying with this incident, it's not there yet. So just a quick update. I thought it was important to know with what was going on with that. And I have a sneaking suspicion this is probably the end of this topic, unless they decide to, create something from it. It certainly could have been. It certainly could have been used as an event, especially a Fantastic Freddy event type thing. So we'll pay attention, but I'm less concerned about it now that we've gone through these stages. So get this, the existence of aliens. Here we go again with the alien talk. I don't know if this is again another distraction, but this is Avi Loeb. We've talked about him quite a bit, but the existence of aliens could be proven in 28 days, according to the Harvard physicist. Now, what that means is, as we have discussed, because we've been following the story along the path, if you remember, Avi Loeb and others had followed this asteroid that had come in, but they thought it did not behave normally. It had changed, and they thought it was potentially an extraterrestrial source, because it didn't behave like an asteroid. It actually ended up in the Pacific. They started to try to find it, and then they recently had pulled up fragments. They found what they're suspecting are these sphere-like iron fragments from IM-1 from the deep Pacific, and they were using a magnetic sled. We had talked about this on our show when they actually started the expedition to go find this. So now they're saying they've got it, they found it, and it could be as short as 28 days or so for them to analyze this metal material, the tiny metal fragments recovered from the crash site, that there's a strong enough to potentially be some artificial alloy. So if they find this to be an artificial alloy, meaning it was developed and built, not a naturally occurring or not something that you would see on an asteroid, then that could mean that what they suspected was an artificial probe as opposed to a meteor. So we'll see. 28 days. Somebody start a countdown. Well, this will be the next alien story, I'm sure, when they come out. But very interesting. I don't want to discredit the work that Avi Loeb and others have done. They have spent a great deal of time, investigating these theories and investigating this. So, and he is, Loeb is the director of for the Institute of Theory and Computation at the Harvard Smithsonian Center for Astrophysics. So this is not a quack by any means. This is somebody who's pretty, I guess, at least a top physicist at Harvard and fairly well respected. So I'm really interested to see what comes of this. So we'll pay attention to it, start the countdown, and we'll look back in a month. This is important, guys. I know everybody's been saying, hey, the gas prices just keep going up. I know when I got back, I was like, yeah, gas prices were up. And I keep seeing it in chat and other places, like we're paying this much, we're paying that much. And some of you don't pay as much as others, but some of you pay a lot, especially on the West Coast and other areas where there's a lot of tax involved. The reason gas prices were up, and we told you this right before summer, was the production. They were cutting it. They cut it going into summer, and they did it because they knew that's the high demand period. They cut production because that's going to raise prices, and raising prices makes, these Saudi Arabia and others, all these rich oil tycoons, it makes them even wealthier. So what did they do today? They're announcing that they're going to cut production into September. So nothing more to report here other than it is what it is. But you need to know that price you're seeing on, the gas pump, it's going to keep going up, even though we're getting ready to go back to school, even though we're getting ready to go back to normal, and everybody's not traveling on the road as much, even though I guess they're going back and forth to work. But summertime is our big time. Well, now they're going to cut it again. And we could potentially see that price go up, or if we expected it to go down after the summertime, then that's not going to happen at all. It'll stay high as it is right now. But I have a sneaking suspicion it's going to go up. This is a money game, and it looks like Saudi Arabia is not playing any favors to the West. Our relationship, especially with our current administration, has not looked its finest by any means. If anything, it looks like Xi and others are establishing much better relationships in the Middle East than we have been, especially around gas and oil. Another update, as I told you guys about Worldcoin. This is the thing that you look into the sphere and it scans your retinas. So if you don't know what's going on there, you can check out the last two shows. We've talked about it 2 different times. One about privacy when it first started to come out, and then we had some numbers coming out yesterday as well. But now we've got another country coming on, and they're actually suspending it. They're saying, hey, this is off the table for us. You're exploiting us, and we don't think it's really good. And this was the sort of the thing I was suggesting, is it seemed like they were investing heavily in spending money in countries where they were underdeveloped, or they were poor countries, and so people looking for a buck are going to be like, heck yeah, I'll scan my face. I don't even know what scanning my face is. Give me my money, and they're basically getting $49 worth of cryptocurrency. So now, the flip side to that, I will give credit where it's due. The whole notion of this digital currency, digital economy, and digital wallets was to give banking capabilities to people in underdeveloped countries that don't have banking. As much as we here in the States just walk down the street and you got 4 different banks, we have banks everywhere. We can easily find an ATM, get cash out, buy something with a Visa. But in less developed areas, like Kenyans, for example, it may not be as easy, and especially in rural parts. So the whole notion of crypto and digital, one of the things a lot of people were doing was trying to help bank, as they call it, giving banking capabilities to the rest of the world that was out there. So on that hand, that's probably why they were targeting these different countries. But the fact that these citizens were just lining up, and not even being able to get, they would line up and their phone battery would die because they're waiting so long. They would wait all day long, and then their phone battery would die, and they'd have to leave to go charge it and get back in line again. And so that's how desperate they were for $49 for basically a $50 gimme of some free crypto that they could use. So As it says right here, a quote, "I've been coming here almost 3 days to line up and register. I want to register because I'm jobless and I'm broke, and that's why I'm here," Webster Musa told the BBC. Another person said, "I came here yesterday. I waited until my phone died. So I came again today, but I've missed the registration again. I really like Worldcoin because of the money. I'm not worried about data being taken as long as the money comes." You hear that? So people aren't worried about it. This is a scary thought that it's just, throw the money at somebody and they will give up privacy. They will give up their rights. They don't care what may happen. Well, fortunately for them, Kenya did jump in and say, hey, we're going to stop this. They're suspending Worldcoin in their country for right now till they look more at some of the privacy implications. So kudos to them. So that's the update as it relates to Kenya and to Worldcoin. And I imagine we'll see more of these because I think France and Germany were talking about not necessarily suspending, but they were investigating the privacy concerns. And again, if you just now joining and you don't know the Worldcoin story, Worldcoin is a biometrics tool that they're using to scan. They want to scan everybody in the world's retinas to create a unique identity so they can determine a real person from a bot. And so it's a way of, in the financial world, having true authentication or identity management, or not management, but identification of an individual. So that's their goal, but it's obviously comes with some tremendous privacy issues. So, look, there's a lot of other things going on. I'm going to talk to you quickly about that right now. The stuff with T-Man, okay, that has happened. And what I'm going off of right now, for those of you that are new, we're on marfooglenews.com. We're going to go over what's called the overflow. So if you want to get there, just click on the show notes link down below. But the stuff happening in DC, the former prez who was arraigned today, decided to plead not guilty, obviously, to all charges. The internet is sort of in a flutter over, and it's interesting because it comes from both sides on the political spectrum. Some are saying it's bad, some are saying it's good. But the judge did not address him as president or former president, or using the word president in front of his name, which is traditionally how you reference a former president. Obviously, you do that with a sitting president, but you also do that with formers as well. They just called him Mr. T-Man or Mr. Trump. So they didn't say T-Man because they don't watch our show, but that would be funny if they did, though. That's for sure. But look, all of that stuff that's going on, there is just a whole slew of coverage. This is probably the biggest distraction and the biggest story. The media companies are eating it up because it gives them tons of airtime, tons of play. So you're going to see all of that. We've got that covered. We have all of the stuff that's been talked about there. Also, other people like Pence and DeSantis and what's happening with them, what they've been talking about. The McCarthy call that was leaked, that's there. As it relates to what's going on in Russia with UKR, there was this really crazy event that happened. It was, and it's not like it's funny because it scared a lot of people. It freaked out the locals. It was what they were calling a nuclear mushroom cloud, but in reality, it was something different. But let me show you. So this nuclear mushroom cloud in southern Russia freaks out the locals. Okay, so everybody saw this. Now, to the people in the weather industry and the cloud industry, they know, hey, this is a cumulonimbus incus cloud. I'm not saying that correctly, and this is not it. This is a example of one. Okay, that actually was one in Santa Fe, New Mexico, that bothered a bunch of people. But seeing a cloud like this in the distance and having the sun rising and turning it bright red would scare you, okay? And I'll show you. Let's take a look at what they saw. This is what they saw. So this is a video. It's on Telegram. I don't really want to play it for fear of not knowing who owns it and what's right. I'm just going to show you some screenshots of it. But take a look at that. If you saw that in the distance, would you not be freaked out? I know I would. At first, I would be like, whoa, what just went off? I would also question why I didn't hear anything. I didn't hear a big sound or feel as close as that may appear. But in reality, it is that, it is a similar cloud to this. It's whatever this is, a cumulonimbus incus cloud, but the sun happens to be hitting it as it's coming across, giving it that bright, scary color. Here's another version of that cloud that was seen. So again, you could imagine if you saw that, you would be really freaked out, but not a mushroom cloud, some other, form of, not, at least at this point, that's what they're telling us. We haven't heard that anything actually went off there. And it does appear to be, given the lighting on it and everything, it appears to be from the sun rising and hitting it and brightening it up with the color. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments down below. If you saw that while you're on your drive into work, would you be a little freaked out? I think you would. I'm sure you'd probably at least take a picture of it. I know I would. So lots of other stuff going on in UKR. So we do have, updates on the troops, where they've moved, what they've done. Zelensky and his, decrying revolting practices in the recruitment centers and, et cetera. They've got an interesting story about how much Western equipment has actually been destroyed. Of course, we don't know if that's true because all of this stuff comes out with this, a lot of ganda on it. I think, we just have to be really careful with the information that comes from either the West or Russia's side on that as well. The Wagner fighters are seeking to unsettle NATO's eastern flank in Poland, which we talked about last night, but there's more updates on that if you'd like to learn more about it. We even have some updates in China and Taiwan as well. All of this is over on marfooglenews.com. It is in the overflow section. That show notes link that's down below in the description, it'll take you right here. Other things that are happening, like Leah Remini, if you don't know who she is, from probably famous from King of Queens, but I'm sure she did a lot of other things. She has gone after this group right here. I'm not going to say their name. I don't want to get hit by them. I want nothing to do with them. So, but there's a new lawsuit. It's kind of fascinating. If you want to see her side of it and potentially their side of it and who is in charge or who is number 2 in command, as she refers to it, go take a look. Interesting article. And then Zuckerberg, apparently this guy has set up his own cage in his backyard for training. He has now eating a 4,000 calorie a day diet so he can get bigger and thicker, and potentially have his day against Elon in the ring, which I guess that is really still a thing and it's going to happen. It just seems kind of crazy to me. I think Elon's mom was probably correct. You guys don't really need to be fighting in the ring, but I guarantee you everybody in America is going to tune in, or at least enough people will tune in that they're going to make another billions of dollars off of that event. And, it'll be a big circus show, I'm sure. Who do you think would win, though? Who's your money on? Are you on Elon or are you on Zuck? It'd be kind of cool if they both were knocked out at the same time, but that isn't going to happen. But tell me in the comments, who would you actually want to see win in that cage match that's supposed to be happening? And I guess they're going to get Rogan to potentially officiate it and have it in Vegas. So that's going on. All right. I think we're kind of wrapped up here. The only other thing I want to remind you is I haven't told anybody about this week is marfooglenews.com/prep. So if you need prep food, long lasting storage, long shelf life storage food, it's turnkey. It's so simple. You just go and order it. They've got right now a 3-month supply. It's on sale, 25% off. Go to marfooglenews.com/prep. You can get that when you're there. Here, I'll even show you. If you go there, let's see. If you go to the page, this is what it looks like. And you've got the deal right here. You can buy this, you can get a 2-week supply, but as we kind of tell you all the time, there's more on the site than just the offer they have for you. So if you're looking for everything else, I just want to show you how easy it is. Just click the My Patriot Supply logo right here, and boom, you can go water filtration, survival items, survival gear, cooking gear, etc. It's all right there. It does support the channel. It does help us out. If you use our link, there is no code. I know we have codes with everything else. There's no code here. If you forget any of these links I've shared with you tonight, they're down below in the description. You can go there and find them. They're real easy to get to. So that is the story for today, folks. I promised I was going to try and do this a lot shorter. I think I'm about as long as I did the first show. I tried to achieve this in a shorter amount of time, but it just didn't seem to work out. I do want to remind everybody to check out the mods, though. Our mods are the best. I love them very much. Again, this is a premiere, so I'll be joining them in chat shortly as soon as this gets uploaded. But you can go find Bones, Chance Lance Paladin, CJ Blaze, Jam Jammer, Lisa R. Hall, Rip Curl Readiness, RJL Harris, Ilea, Trinity, Red or Blue Pill, Hi Ho, Kermit the Frog here, who just did a great video. So go check. Matter of fact, go check that one out. I was watching it earlier, right before I started recording this. And then, of course, Wages World. There's been some solar activity, so you might want to check him out because he's going to have some updates there. But again, marfooglenews.com/friends. Just go to our website. We got everything on there. Find the thumbnail for the show, get the sources to it, sign up for our alerts if you want to be on our mailing list, share a video with us if you've got something to see, or you're looking for any of our affiliate links or anything that you want to do to help get yourself prepared in the event that something unthinkable happens, whether it be weather related or an SHTF situation. Whatever you need to prepare for, make sure you're doing it. And even if you can't afford to do some of these things that, you can just turnkey buy, there's plenty of great creators here that have all sorts of good tips about how to prepare, what to prep, how to do it on your own, what you can do with payday preps like Alaska Prepper. He does that. He's really good at it. Survival Living has some great tips on that as well. So go check out the marfooglenews.com/friends. So they're all right here. Again, folks, this is Dex. I have had a wonderful time talking with you. I hope this has been informative. If you like the show, let me know. Best thing you can do is share it. Best thing you can do is subscribe, or at least check your subscription, because I know a lot of people aren't. They forget that the platform had unsubscribed them. But share us out with your friends and family. Let them know how great our community is. Everyone that's in chat, everyone that's in comments, you guys are fantastic. You're wonderful. You do a great job of being nice and polite to one another, but also sharing with one another about the topics that we tend to talk to. And it's a place that you can come and, feel safe about talking about, topics that are a little off center from some folks, where people may not want to hear what you have to think about at the water cooler at work. They might think you're crazy. That's okay. Come here and talk to us about it. Talk to the Foogle fam, talk to the Marfia. Everyone here in chat is great. And they love to discuss these ideas. And that's one of the best things we can do, is have dialogue and communicate with one another. So, and speaking of which, please tell me, was the show okay? Did you have any feedback? Anything you need me to do differently? Anything that I'm, besides saying a lot, that is annoying you? Feel free to tell me in comments. And if you like it, tell me that too. Best thing you do, hit that like button. I'm trying to show Adam I can get you guys to actually click it a lot for me. So do that. Hit the like button for me, and I can say, look at all those likes we got. All right. You guys have a wonderful night. Please be safe out there. And Dex is out, and I'll see you again. If we have more updates and stuff, I'll bring them to you tomorrow and as they unfold. So much love, everybody. I appreciate you all, and we'll see you next time.
Marfoogle News. Welcome to Marfoogle fam. Welcome to Marfoogle News. Welcome to